This meeting is being recorded.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you are ready to go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It is April 27th. Time is 7:01. Calling to order the regular meeting for the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals, held remotely. And I will read the message on the top of the agenda. Due to increasing concerns surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held remotely with no physical meeting location. Those seeking to provide public input should do so using the methods listed below. Video and audio of the meeting will be aired on Comcast Local TV 9 and on the Town of Dayton Planning and Use YouTube channel, which can be accessed using this link, and the link is clickable there below. Public input may be provided using the following methods. Contact the office at keasterday@dayton-ma.gov. Please use the email subject line ZBA 4/27/2022 public input and include your name and address for the record. Or you may use the Zoom link provided or dial by location 646-558-8656. Meeting ID is 841-3006-2330. Passcode is 327487. And as always, we've been doing, we will, in lieu of the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll just take a brief moment of silence to think of those struggling through the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, thank you. Next, before we go on, we're going to confirm the next meeting date. A couple things before we do that. If it's going to be May 25th, which is the fourth Wednesday, I will not be able to attend.
Okay.
I will be in Italy.
Okay, wonderful for you.
No, I would say there would be another member that also can't make it, but he's no longer a member, so I was talking to Susan on election day, and granted, I'm not going to be at the next meeting, so this might not matter, but if possible, I think we would like to start exploring the idea of finally meeting in person. At this point, with vaccines and the state and everything right now, I think it's time that we start doing that. And I know for a while we held off for this, if people were still concerned, but at this point, I think if there's someone that is that concerned about being in public, they can take it remotely from home if they want to, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that being said, I feel like we should make every effort we can to meet in person. I don't know if that's possible with any kind of with meeting spaces right now and keeping the same date, because I'm saying this because if we have to change the date in order to meet in person and it's the week after, then I can make it. So I just didn't know if we knew what the meeting space situation was like right now.
So for the moment, the Zoning Board of Appeals has a they'll be meeting, since you'll be starting in person. You can meet, but it'll be at the Primetime building.
Okay.
So there is that possibility. Just to piggyback on your discussion about the meeting, you probably saw the email from Paul Cusson regarding Stonegate Landing, and they are requesting a substantial change to their special permit. So that's going to require a public hearing. I discussed with them today about the possibility of doing the May 25th, so it looks like that won't be able to happen. So they are looking to do that. So because of the request, obviously we're on a time frame for that, because it's going to require a public hearing with the notification and all of, the restrictions with the publication and all that. So I spoke to Marguerite, and she said she was available with the exception of May 31st, which is a Tuesday. She has the month of June, she's wide open on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays for the month of June, with the exception of the 20th, because that's a holiday. So if you guys want to discuss that. And then as far as May, for either the week before or after, just keep in mind, I have planning on June actually, no, I do not. I don't have a June 1st meeting because that's when we start our summer schedule. So if you want to do it, push your regular May 25th meeting to June 1st. That's doable.
I'm thinking that only because I know sometimes when this happens, we try to keep the same week.
Right.
But I'm coming back on the 25th, and I would suggest not having it on the 26th in case my flight's delayed or jet lag. I'm coming from across the country and across the world, so I don't want to take the chances that we have it that night. And obviously Friday night would be tough, so I think it would make most sense to go on to the next week, and we can even keep the same Wednesday, seeing as that's you don't have planning that night.
Right.
And is prime time available that night? Do we know?
Actually, you guys can use Old Town Hall that night, because that's when planning board is, and they're not meeting. So you could do it at Old Town Hall that night.
Okay. Does that date not work for any of the board members?
No, Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan. I would think that the date does work. First of all, like you said, the prior week you're coming back, and then we get into the long weekend. So that creates a conflict perhaps for some people, but also I think there may be a couple of issues coming up on that particular meeting, Stonegate may being one, potentially Stony Ridge being another one, which I would need to recuse myself from. So that therefore it makes sense to hold off until the 1st. And that way, because these are prior issues too, we also have members, including yourself, who are familiar with the matters.
Right. That's what I was going to say too, is that especially with my dad gone, that would leave essentially me and Greg for those who know that material the most, and then John, obviously, but if he can't be on them, we wouldn't want to have 2 or 3 new members on those cases if we can help it, obviously.
Right.
So.
The only one that I would potentially have to recuse would be Stony Ridge, but regardless, that could be a big issue. And it does involve people who are familiar with the background and the rules and the criteria. So yes, I think it makes sense.
Okay. And Greg, does that work for you?
Yes, it does.
How about Susan and Dave?
Yes, that's fine with me.
And then I know we have a potential member we'll be discussing later on, and assuming that we go through with her, Elise, would that work for you?
Is this June 27th?
No, this is June 1st.
June 1st.
June, oh, that's fine. Yes, that works.
Okay. All right. Then that will
I'm
be
good.
our next.
I am
meeting.
good on June 1st also.
You up? Sorry.
I'm good for June 1st also.
You're good. Oh, okay. Okay. So then that will be the next meeting. Obviously, we'll keep the same 7:00 time start. Carrie, we don't need. There's no executive session or anything regarding for that, so we don't need to meet beforehand.
Not that I have not been informed that we need to.
Okay. Just like to just double check that. So okay. So
my
This is going to
second,
be held in person, right?
I'm sorry.
yes, in
This is
person.
going to be
Right?
held in person.
Yes.
Correct.
I think it's
Yes.
it's obviously when we have a 2-item agenda, when we discuss a budget and approve minutes, that can be done remotely or was okay to do remotely. But now if we're getting into public hearings, and even with applicants who are trying to present plans, if we can do it in person, I think it's time to start doing that. So.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, are you okay with scheduling both of those items for the same night?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the board is okay with the two, because they seem to be both big items. So I just want to make sure we're okay with that.
So that being said, Carrie, have you seen any new? I mean, if we have old business from today to discuss, that's fine. But I would say hold off from any new cases going on that meeting, though.
Okay. So basically, right now, if we carry over tonight's public hearing, then the agenda will be closed.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go down. We have a letter of resignation from Peter Karen, which he sent it to an email that I no longer use, so I don't have that printed in front of me. Carrie, do you have it in front of you?
I do.
Do you mind reading it into the minutes for us?
Of course, I can throw it up on the screen too, if you'd like.
Sure, sure.
Let's see, just bear with me for 1 minute. And sorry, I had this ready to go, but
No, you're fine.
I was scrolling through. And let's try this. Okay, so it says, to Zachary Karen, Chairman, please accept this letter as a formal notice of my resignation from my position as zoning board of appeals member. It is with a heavy heart that I leave after 20+ years. Not only has it been an honor to serve with each of you, it was an honor to serve the citizens of Dayton. Thank you for allowing me the privilege. I would like to do anything to help with the transition. If I can be of any assistance in the future, please let me know. Yours sincerely, Peter D. Karen.
All right, so I obviously I would assume everyone knows, but he won the selectman a few weeks ago, so obviously he has no choice but to resign. So we have no choice but to accept it. No, I'm just kidding, but for real, we have to accept it, obviously. So that being said, that does leave open an empty seat, which we already have gone about filling. In fact, I met someone on election day, and she expressed interest in joining the board, and we do have her letter of request and her application as well, and she's on tonight. So first, I'll read her letter into.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, before we read her letter, this is Jonathan. I'm going to make a motion that we accept the resignation of Peter Karen as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that we direct the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals to send a letter to Mr. Karen on behalf of the entire board, thanking him for his 20 years of service, dedication, and commitment.
All right. Is there a second to that?
Chairman, this is Greg Logan. I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Jonathan, I.
Greg, aye.
Zachary Karen, aye.
David Phillips, aye.
And
I see you there.
yep. I think Susan's trying to unmute herself.
I think so too.
Susan Pritchard. Aye.
Last day of doing this.
So close.
All right.
Okay.
Letter. This is from Elise Vincent, and it's addressed to the town administrator, Mark Pacheco. Dear Mr. Pacheco, it has come to my attention that there's an empty seat on the zoning board. While I have limited experience with zoning, I am interested in meeting and working with other members to serve our town and reach its best potential. I have been looking for a spot in the town government where I can join in, and would like to offer my services on this committee for consideration. Sincerely, Alice Vincent, and she signed it, and she also has the volunteer form that she filled out, as well as her resume, which I will not read in detail because she is here tonight. So if Alice, if you Alice, at least if you want to hop on,
Hello.
I already talked to you, met you. And so if you want to introduce yourself to the board, please do.
Hello. How do I?
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan. I'm going to help her introduce herself because I did reach out on behalf of the board and have a conversation with her. So I think I can make it easier for her if that's okay with you.
No, it's all right. If she's here and wants to speak, I'll have her speak first, and then we can go to the board members and see what they have any comments. If she would rather not speak yet, then
How do I? Hello?
you're good.
Hello?
Yep, you're there.
Oh my God, I can't see myself. So I'm typing in, how do I unmute? Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I don't know what to start. I have been looking to be on a town committee, and this one opened up. I'm excited to be part of the town government. And I don't have much zoning experience. I took some real estate classes in zoning, so I know about it. But I really, I just more than anything just wanted to be part of the town. I noticed nobody goes to meetings, and I thought that if I made myself available and did that, it make such a richer experience for me and make the town, the town that I like to be in.
For sure. And one thing I think I said to you the other day, and I mentioned when David joined, is that you don't need experience. It's not a board that you're not running against other people that might have it and you're trying to compete or prove yourself. It's an appointed volunteer position. It's one of those things where like a job says, previous experience required. It's like, well, if you don't have any experience, how are you going to get the job? If we all had to have zoning experience before joining the zoning board, no one would ever come on the board. I mean, I had none. The most experience I had was 10 years old sitting in the audience while my dad was running the meetings. That's the most experience I had before I started too. So it's
Great.
you'll learn a lot. You won't be on. I shouldn't say you won't. We would try to avoid putting you on any big cases to first start, so you can just kind of see how the process works, and you'll already see that tonight as a for now audience member, unfortunately member of the public, because you have to be appointed by the selectmen and sworn in. So you can stay for the rest of the meeting, but obviously you would just be as a member of the public input. But I certainly have absolutely no objections at all to you joining. I think it's great that it's nice to see someone who heard about it and actually followed through and put it in. That was, it's always good to see that. So, and now, John, you said you had some experience with her as well?
So my experience actually was that she and I had a fairly extended telephone conversation. I was able to explain to her the duties, responsibilities, expectations of the ZBA. She was also able to share with me more of her general background, in terms of living in different places from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. and other places. Significant background in her own way in the public because she's been involved in theater for a long time and some television and some broadcasting and some film. So, but I think you put all of that together, she's at least I believe used to working with the public and communicating with the public. She's certainly capable of directing, I'm sure, but also capable of taking direction. And I've explained to her that we would be starting off, the way we award the voting for each of the different times that something comes up and so forth. And we usually start folks with the lighter stuff to get used to it. That the book is available, of course, for her to review anything she needs. That we have certain people who have certain expertise we try to rely on at times, or we can ask them to come in for us. But I felt comfortable in the conversation with her. I felt like we got to know each other a little bit and like she would be an asset to the board. I think she's going to be one who speaks up and asks questions as well, which I think is important.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do any other members have any questions for Elise today? Or comments?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan.
Yep, sure. Yep. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I'm excited that we're having some new blood on our board. It's nice to see that we have 3 new members in the last 3 months. It's really, really good.
I was just going to say that.
Myself. Yeah, I'm excited myself and hope this all works out for all of us. And I'm looking forward to working with her.
I was going to say, this is, I think,
Thank you.
the fastest time that we've had a seat open and it fills. Usually we went sometimes 2 or 3 months without something coming up. So it's good to see how quickly we filled it. So that's, that was nice to see as well. All right. So that being said, do I have a motion to accept the request for consideration as a member for Alice Vincent? Elise, sorry.
I know.
I gave the least 2, but I saw it and I was like, wait. So yeah.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan. Since I interviewed her, I will make a motion that we accept Elise Vincent as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals effective our next meeting, assuming she is approved by the Board of Selectmen, which I certainly expect she will be.
Is there
Susan
Mr.
Pritchard.
Chairman, Greg Logan. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Susan Pritchard, I second that.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Greg Logan, aye.
Jonathan, I.
Susan Pritchard, aye.
Jeffrey Karen.
Dave Phillips, aye.
All right, so Elise, the next step, we will have Kerry write a letter to the selectmen stating that we did approve of your request to join the board. They will then vote on that, and then once they do, you'll be contacted to go to town hall, and you'll be sworn in by the town clerk, as well as receiving the town bylaws and the open meeting law handbook and stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Right.
you.
Of course, looking forward to having you on. Like I said,
Yeah.
if you have something else to do and you need to leave the meeting, that's fine. But you can of course stay on as a member of the public. Just if you have any questions
Sure.
or comments regarding any of the cases that we discussed tonight, you will just have to wait until the applicant is done, and then we'll open up the floor to the public. So if
Okay.
you have anything at that point, you can. You're not pressured to. We're just letting you know that if anything comes up, you just have to wait until that we open up the floor to the public.
Okay. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to listen and see what you do.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Absolutely,
Okay.
no problem. All right, so before we go on to the public hearing, we have last item of business here is the reorganization of the board, which I can't believe it's already been a year since we had this discussion, but so even though usually we have to reorganize the board when a chairman, vice chairman, or a clerk leaves, obviously that was not the case here, as my father, when he was on, wasn't the chairman, so we don't have to worry about filling his seat or his roles that way. But we do have to reorganize. I don't know, Carrie, is there a certain process that we do it, or?
Actually, I'm not sure. I put that in there just in case. I didn't know if the board was going to be reorganizing or not. So I'm not sure you really need to reorganize right now.
Has it been a year already?
No, it hasn't. I just did that with the resignation of Mr. Karen and the new members coming in. So I just put that in there as a precautionary. So if you just want to take, just no action on that. I don't think you need to do it right now.
Zach, I believe Zach, we have you as chairman, Greg as vice chairman, and myself as clerk. So
Correct.
there's no change to be done at this point.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think we need to do anything. I just did it as a precautionary.
That is fine. So we can move on from that. But now we're going to the first and only item for public hearing, which is the variance application, Kim and Kenneth Barabee, 11624 Old Williams, map 21, lot 32-01, and is the first case of the year. So it's case 01-22. And John, I do need 3 voting members.
I will take yourself.
Yeah.
I'm having a brain freeze. I'm sorry, Greg Loken. And let's go with Dave.
All righty. Dave, do you feel comfortable with that? You good? That'll be your first case. Just want to make sure you're all set.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so
All right.
Carrie, do you have the, if you can just pull up, oh yeah, it's already on there, perfect, awesome. So I'll just read in the legal notice as it appeared in the Gazette. It says, legal notice, Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals. Notice is hereby given. The Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 7 p.m. remotely via Zoom on the variance application of Kim and Kenneth Barabee for property located at 1624 Old William Street, being shown as Assessors Map 21, Lot 3201, pursuant to Section 2620, Table of Dimensional Requirements of the town's zoning bylaw in order to subdivide one existing house lot into 2 buildable lots, one with insufficient frontage. And any persons interested or wishing to be heard on this matter should attend this meeting. Copies of the application are available in the Zoning Board of Appeals office, the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals website, or upon request can be viewed by email or calling 508-669-6431, extension 114, or emailing Kate Easterday at Dayton-ma.gov. So at this time, I will turn the floor over to the applicant or whoever is representing the applicant, if there is anybody representing, to just discuss their application.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Bob Barabee, Proline Engineering, Swansea. I'm here with my brother Ken, who's off the camera, but he's right next to me.
Okay,
He's the owner of the property, so either I can answer questions or he can.
sure.
Basically, the piece of property, if anybody's familiar with it, is located on the north side of Old William Street between Cortlandt Road and Lewis Street, also called Shop Lot Road. It's a fairly large piece of property, 6.12 acres total with 355.6 feet of frontage. There's an existing dwelling on the lot, 1624 Old William Street, with a detached single-stall garage in the back of it. The access is from Old William Street. What we're asking through the zoning board is that we are allowed to split the piece of property into two, creating what I identify as parcel one as being a fully conforming lot which does not have water or sewer available. So it has 250 feet of frontage and over an acre of land. So that would conform. It would contain the house that's there now. The property lines that I'm showing on the piece of property would be conforming to setbacks, rear side setbacks. The remaining land, which is about 5.12 acres of area, would have 105.60 feet of frontage, which is less than the required 250 because there's no water or sewer available on the site. The parcel that we would like to create would be for one single family dwelling. The lot, we did the subdivision to the east at Cortlandt Road. Water was brought into that project from William Street. So the lots on that subdivision all have the minimum 175 feet of frontage and 3/4 of an acre of land, 35,000 square feet of land. A brief history on this piece of property. A while ago, we divided it into a subdivision. The subdivision was approved by the planning board. It contained the existing house on one lot and then a proposed roadway into the subdivision to create 5 more conforming lots. As of October last year, we were granted a 1-year extension on the approval of the subdivision. It was on its way to be developed and we recorded the plan. Misunderstanding on the meetings, we felt that within that year of the approval, once that was granted, that we would have 3 years to build the subdivision, which is normal through the planning board. We ran it by Jimmy Aguiar, the building inspector, zoning enforcement officer. He felt worst case scenario, we would have lost one of the 3 years during the 1-year extension period. So we brought that back, we discussed that with the board, and they said that no, we had to construct the subdivision within that 1 year. So in their eyes, the subdivision was no longer valid. The problem comes in, we talked to the chairman and we were told to resubmit it. But the problem comes in with the water moratorium, which is now in effect with the town of Dayton. So we went to the water board meeting and explained what the situation was and asked them if we would still be eligible for water because we gave them the fees initially for the water and they did approve the extension of the water main to the site to give us water. They didn't give us an answer, but they said they'd run it by their attorney. The attorney came back next month with their comment was that they would advise them not to allow water to be brought to the project any longer. So based on that, the subdivision was no longer good. So the 5 lots went away. They tell us that maybe in June, the moratorium may be lifted, but from what I hear, it doesn't look like it's gonna happen by June. So that's why we're proposing or requesting that we be allowed to just make it 2 houses instead of the 6 that were proposed for the site, waiving the frontage on the lot, parcel 2. The parcel itself having over 5 acres of area, all uplands, there are no wetlands anywhere on or near this site. The parcel that we're creating in the back will be larger than every one of the abutting lots out there. I haven't polled the residents, even though we know quite a few of them because we did the lots across the street, the Sloan's property. We pretty much developed all the land around here. And I think that unless there's somebody in the audience today, I think that they would probably be fine with 1 house out there rather than 5 more houses out there. So that's pretty much what the request is. And I think the hardship would be the fact that water is no longer available to the site. Otherwise, it would have been a subdivision. With the 355 feet of frontage, even with the house there, if there was water to the site, we could split it. We'd have to do some, the house is kind of in the middle of the frontage, but it could be made into 2 conforming lots, each having 175 feet of frontage if there was water again available to the site, but there isn't. So this is what we're left with. So that's the request.
All right. Thank you. I will first turn it over to the voting members of the board if they have any questions or comments for the applicant. Greg, if you want to go first. Okay, is Greg there?
Let me double check.
It sounded like we just lost somebody, but I don't know if that was
Yeah.
correct.
That's what I want to double
I
check.
thought I heard that too, but I wasn't sure.
Hold on 1 second. Let me go out of stop, screen share so I can check my,
Sure.
yeah, he's still there.
Can he hear us?
I don't see his microphone on though.
Okay. I mean, I'll go to Dave first, then if he has any questions.
Okay.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Ken.
How you doing?
Good. Obviously, this is my first meeting, and I've driven by the lot a couple times, and I understand what you're trying to do. Now, with that 105 frontage that you have on that side, would you be cutting like where that house is? Are you going to cut like another 100 and almost like 150 feet into that lot? Is that how that works?
Yeah, what it would be is we would bring it in from the frontage. It would be a driveway. So the driveway would extend probably beyond the existing dwelling that's there now and where it opens up. What I'm envisioning is somebody would probably buy this that wanted some privacy. So they would probably set their house further back, maybe not all the way in the middle of the lot, probably give them a large backyard. But I would think that they would not want their house like right in the backyard of the existing house that's there. So I'm thinking probably somewhere in the first third of the lot would be where the house would go. Because this was a subdivision, we have 2 sets of perk tests for the 5 lots, so we get 10 different perk
Is
tests.
that your plan?
What's that?
The existing house that's there on the other side.
Yep.
Oh, we lost your,
Existing- Can you hear me?
no, David is speaking, but we can't hear him. David, we didn't hear what you said. You were, I don't know if you accidentally muted yourself. Nope, you're still there. Yeah, you're on mute.
Who, me,
There
David?
you are. There you are. Okay. Nope, now you're on mute again.
I don't, it's
I had a
not showing
problem
on
with
my,
it too.
There you go. Okay,
David,
you're
Dave, could you repeat the whole question you were going to ask?
when you're gonna add frontage to that 105, that existing where that the existing garage and the there's a, it looks like an existing well. Is that gonna be divided into that the first parcel, or is that gonna?
The property line that's in bold, right at the one that's above where it says parcel 1, and then takes a turn down to Old William Street, that is the proposed line.
No?
So,
Right.
yeah, that's the proposed line. So the frontage would be from where that line touches Old William Street, then heads east. That 105.60, that's the frontage. So we're not adding frontage, but we're asking for a waiver on the 250 feet of frontage to 105 feet of frontage. In that
Okay.
frontage is where the driveway will come in, and then it will go back, it'll extend behind the existing dwelling, and then
Okay.
the dwelling will be placed in the back of the property, behind parcel 1. And I'm thinking they're probably gonna want to put it in this flat area behind it, and then keep the rest as remaining land, the large backyard, side yards. It's more of like it's almost like what they call a state lot or a hammerhead lot or something like that, where it has a lot of privacy.
Yep, understandable. I mean, in my instances of just looking at this and seeing that existing 5-house plan that has expired, I mean, I would think the residents around.
He went mute again.
Yeah, he went out.
It might be his
I
connection.
lost you guys too. I had to come back on another phone.
Yeah, we were wondering where you went. But
Yeah.
Dave, are you there? I don't know if it's your connection, but we heard you. We saw your mouth moving, but your sound cut out.
Yeah.
And everything on my screen says that
Yeah, there
I'm
you go.
talking. So I don't know, maybe,
That's much better right there.
okay.
So
So
Dave,
I don't know if you,
No, we
You
missed
want me
part of
to-
what you were going to say.
You said the last thing we heard, you said considering about you looking at this now, considering it was going to be 5 lots, the residents, and then you cut out.
Hmm.
Dave, are you able to maybe type your comment in the chat function? There you are.
There you are.
yeah, why?
again.
Try again?
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all right. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. What I was saying is, I believe the residents around that cul-de-sac on Cortland Road would be much happier with just one house than the, proposed 5-house subdivision that has expired.
I mean, I would assume so, but I mean,
That's all I got.
so as much, Dave, just so you know, I'm not whether you're for or against it. That are you saying that would be your reasoning for approving it, if that is what you're feeling, or are you just making that comment?
But I stand corrected.
Going in and out, man.
Hmm.
All right, I'll be quiet now.
Oh, no, it's okay. I mean, the last thing we heard you say was, "I stand corrected." We didn't hear the first, so I don't know what. I was just asking if that was your reason for approving it, if that was your feeling.
Well, I think I would approve it because you're basing it on one house on this big piece of property instead of the proposed, 5 houses.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way that I look at it, being a little wet behind the ears here, so.
Right. So one thing that you want to consider too is that does he have a hardship based on the shape or topography of his land? Because saying so, Marguerite has, assuming a case goes through or does not go through, Marguerite has to write a decision and provide legal reasons as to what our reasons were for why we voted for something or denied something. So saying, as I agree with you 100%, I'm sure the residents would prefer 2 houses or one house versus 5. I don't know if that would be a reason for approving it. It's definitely a benefit, but you would want to make sure that as the applicant discussed, there is a hardship here, or he feels as though there is one. Do you agree with that, and do you think that would be a reason to approve this case in your opinion?
I think I would have to say no. I don't really see a hardship there.
Okay, so there is one. With the water no longer being supplied, that is something that you could argue is a hardship. It's something that he is unable to fix. Obviously, he can't change that, and it's not anything that there are what's called self-created hardships, where it's like, well, you divided the land, and you made it had a small amount of frontage, not him specifically. I'm just saying hypothetically. But this is a case where with the water change, that is a hardship that he no longer has any kind of control of. So that would be an example of one reason why it might be adequate to approve it. So that being said, do you still feel as though there's no hardship, or do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And I guess with the water concern, that would be considered a hardship.
I agree.
So Greg, now that you're back on, do you have any?
Yeah, I'd like to go over a few things with this, because I feel with this development, at one time was in front of planning board, and it's the petitioner came in front of us, came in front of the planning board for the 5 house lots. Since then, the water moratorium has taken place. I don't feel an applicant or a person in the town of Dayton that has water running by their street, paying taxes on that water all these years, should be penalized to make these lots at 250 when the man has 355 feet of frontage, and if you break it in half, it's 177. So he has 2 legal lots with water. It's not the applicant's problem that the town can't supply the water. So my feeling is the applicant's hardship is due to the water moratorium.
Yes, I would have to agree.
And I think going forward, Zach, this is going to come in front of us a much more in a lot of different pieces. So I as a landowner, if I pay a water tax and a water bill in all these years, then I've been paying it right along, and all of a sudden, oh, what do you mean I can't hook up to your water? Okay, that's fine. I'll put a well in. Okay, that's fine. But then you still want to hold me to the 250. I think we need to get that clarified at the annual town meeting. If the water department can't pick up the pace and get this taken care of, that if your lots are 175 and you're willing to put a well in, I think that should be fine, because this applicant here, what it sounds like to me, has paid to have a 5 lot subdivision go in front of planning. Planning told them, if I'm not mistaken, as I was writing things down as I was listening, planning told them they had to record it and pull a permit within the first year. Well, the governor of the state of Massachusetts called it COVID. We all dealt with it on our own board. So I disagree with the planning board on that matter, on that part. But if the applicant still wants to stay with the 2, I think it's a better and non-detrimental to the town of Dayton to allow the 2 lots in lieu of 5.
Right. So now, any other non-voting members, do you have any questions for the applicant?
So this is Jonathan, and my question for the applicant would be actually a couple of quick questions, but You noted when you, in your explanation, that you made reference to the fact that there might, using that word because nobody knows, be a change with regard to the water moratorium being lifted as of the end of this June or sometime this June, but who knows? And probably won't happen, but as you made reference to it as a possibility. So my first question is, if that were a possibility, would you then be, and it were lifted, would you then be coming back to us to ask for a change again so that you can build your use the 5 lots? Or are you willing to accept a rider in this vote, if it were approved in your favor, that would forbid you from doing that in the future?
Well, I think what he's proposing to do is get it split into the 2 lots and then try and sell it. The people that are renting the house right now want to buy the house, but they can't, we couldn't split it because it's all through the mortgage with the bank. So if this is split and then the people in the house buy the house, then there wouldn't be enough frontage to come back in and do the same subdivision that was approved before. If the water moratorium gets lifted in June or next year or whatever, and nothing happens with the piece of property, there's no interest in somebody buying it and building a house on it, and the people that rent it keep renting it and can't afford to buy it, then it would still end up being the piece of property that could be developed like any other piece of property. If they wanted, if a developer wanted to buy both of them and then wait it out, then I think that they would be entitled to develop it without having to go back to, wouldn't have to go to zoning. It would just be through planning. It would be similar to somebody buying a couple of house lots anywhere in Dayton and combining them and developing it if they felt that it was cost effective for them to do so.
Well, the reason I asked that based on your answer is, and Greg, you and some have more knowledge on this than I certainly do in this area, so feel free to help me out. But if we granted this based on that hardship request, and then what you just said occurred, then that hardship request is no longer valid. Am I right?
Greg? Is Greg there?
Did we lose Greg?
I see his name there. I don't see a mute next to him.
There we go. Sorry, I was trying to shut the mute button off. So listening to what you stated, Jonathan, this is what all I'm saying is that the applicant himself went in front of planning, and obviously there was a time situation that never been met. For this applicant to go back in front of planning, he'd have to redo the whole application at a huge expense. So when the man comes to the board of us now with 5+ acres, okay, of one lot, and the other one he's going to break it down to 250 to meet our town requirements with water, without having water. All I'm saying is that this one time, if he agrees to do this at the zoning board, this does tie up his piece of property. If it's recorded. If it's not recorded, then it does not. Our words doesn't go any further than this meeting. He has to record it. And once it's recorded, though, that's it. This piece of property is now going to be 2 house lots for the rest of its life.
So I just want to make sure that the applicant knows that that's the case. And that's where I was trying to go, is that if we approve this and this is recorded, and this is approved, it will be recorded, then it's going to be up to the applicant to have to come back again if something were to change.
Yeah, so all I'm saying, who's to say, Jonathan, hear me out. I'm jumping the gun here. Who's to say somebody comes and buys both house lots, knocks both houses down, and somebody could do whatever they want, but that's a huge expense for someone to do just to get 5 houses. I don't see it. But I'm saying that part, because then he's back to the frontage again. He could do whatever he likes.
Yeah.
Right now, we're taking the he had to adjust his lot. So we're taking a Form A forming lot without water, and he's in front of us asking for a second lot with insufficient frontage, but acreage that exceeds what a normal house lot would be. And that is all I'm saying is I found the applicant's hardship is due to the water material. That's all I was getting at. Now, going forward, I'm not saying if this guy builds this house on this non-conforming lot, it's not in our board or any other board that's done this unless they put a road up the side and change the whole thing to let them take more frontage on a non-conforming lot, if you got what I'm saying. Because he's like, got one that's going to be 250, and the other one's going to be under that. It was 355, so it'd be something like 100 and something. It's not going to be able to be done on that five part acreage unless somebody redesigned the whole parcel and knocked the houses down. Then something could be done at a later date.
Greg, how important, I'm going to ask you this question because it's visual for the applicant so that they know I'm visually impaired and can't see any plan you might propose. So that's why I'm asking the question the way I am. My question for you, Greg, is does it matter potentially in the approval here from what you can see where they might put a house? Or is that irrelevant?
Jonathan, I'm in the same boat with you. My computer is not letting me see anything.
Oh,
And I've been working on a phone, so I haven't been able to see this parcel. This might be something that Kerry or Zach or Dave, somebody like that, might be able to visually explain it to us because I can't see that parcel right now.
Because I heard the applicant say whoever buys it where they want to build, depending upon where they want to build. And I don't know if that needs to enter into our decision is where I'm going with this.
Well, we should ask the applicant what he meant by the wording.
Well, what I mean is it's going to be more of a preference of them, depending on how much privacy they want. They might put a barn on the property. They might want to do some farming on the property. I'm sure they're not going to set the house. If it was me, I wouldn't just come in and put the house at the 55 feet from the center of the road, which is the zoning requirement. I think I'd set it further back, maybe a third of the way back into the lot. I know that if a house is built on here, it will conform with, we stated in the requirements that any house built on the lot will conform to setback requirements. We're not asking for any relief on that. So if they want to build a house, a small cottage up in that throat area, and they can conform to zoning and keep the rest of it open in the back, as long as the house meets side setbacks, front setbacks, rear setbacks, I don't think that that's necessarily an issue. I just think if we were asking for some relief on that, it would be. But in this case, we're not. I just don't know if somebody's going to want to buy it. I know if I was going to build out there, I would want the thing pushed maybe a third of the way back into the lot so I can keep all the trees around me and have privacy, because most people that buy 5 acres of land, they don't buy it because they want to pay more taxes. They buy it because they want the privacy that comes with the parcel.
Are you opposed to having a condition put on that piece of property that can either be developed, but only going to be a 2 parcel?
Well, I didn't think about that. I mean, normally when we do subdivisions through zoning, there's always a condition that the lot that we're requesting the waiver on cannot be further subdivided. But it doesn't state that
that's what I'm saying on that.
Yeah, but it doesn't say it can't be further subdivided if the subdivision conforms to the town regulations. I agree with you in that for somebody to come in, that's why we didn't resubmit, because we were told we would have to pay all of the fees again. The old consultant, Peter Williams, who was there for 15 years, who knew this property like the back of his hand, is retired. So it would have been a whole new consultant and all new fees again, all the advertising and the year or 2 years that it normally takes to get a subdivision approved, it would have kept going. And so that's why my brother chose not to go forward. He felt this was probably in the best interest of him and the town to put one house back there and be done with it.
I'm wondering, this is Jonathan again, if based on the question that Greg and I both asked you, with regard to, putting something in writing to add to, with regard to no further division, if there was a rider in there like that as a condition, if you would accept it, or if you think potentially giving you an option, it makes sense for the voting members to continue this until the next meeting, and then give you a chance to come back with some language, if that were the case, that you would be open to having put in there that would bind that.
All right, I'd rather not continue it because it's going to be another month, and the way the economy is going, I think the clock is ticking. So I'd rather not continue it, but I don't know if I can speak for him and his wife. If it's something that they need to talk to a lawyer about, because I think that they want, if somebody comes in and buys this whole piece of property, then I think they should have the right to subdivide it if they want to. What we're asking is to subdivide it now as it is to build two houses. But if somebody wants to buy that piece of property and put a 40B out there or something like that, then we're going to let them go through that process, because my brother is going to be done with it. So whatever they want to do, I think it's more of a legal question as to what they could do with it than an engineering question. So if we need to continue it, then we need to continue it. If you want to
John,
pause the
John.
meeting and have him call his wife.
Yes,
and
Zach.
discuss it.
John, what was your reasoning for having to continue it?
Because I think it sounds like, based on what the applicant is saying, unless I'm misinterpreting Greg too, I think we're simply asking the question of whether or not the applicant is open to having that as a condition, so that this is potentially protected in perpetuity. So my question is, if the applicant isn't sure yet, or wants to get legal advice before and remember, I'm not a voting member. I realize that, because this would have to be made as part of the motion by a voting member to be continued or to have this condition potentially. So what I'm wondering is if the applicant wants to give this reconsideration, or at least speak to legal counsel to see, if it were drafted, how it would be done, because that's something that legal counsel might want to think about, because ultimately that's going to have to be looked at if it is by our legal counsel. So, that may be a moot point, but I can see
I
this
butt in
somehow.
here for a little bit?
Go ahead,
What?
Greg.
One question I wanted to go over, Jonathan. So I'm looking at the only reason, the way I think we can lock this up is if we allow them to keep the 177.8 per lot, because if we leave 250 and then they go and get the water, then they'll have the easement to get into the back, because we gave them the 250 for that one lot, if you got what I'm saying. So
Yes.
the 250 would be a Form A lot back to the 175, but if we left it at the 177.8 and the 177.8 that it would be at the because they got 355.6 after listening to what they said. Now you have two Form A frontages. We have done it in the past, given them a break for a 40-foot easement to it, but with the 250, you'll have all that right out of the get-go if that moratorium gets lifted. So this is why I was stating is that I don't feel an applicant should be able to be forced to make their lots to 250 because we don't have water for the supplied by the town of Dayton. If the water runs by your property, you should still have to maintain your 175. He's going to have to put a well in no matter what he does, let's face it, until the moratorium gets lifted. But I'm not really comfortable giving making it 250, dropping the other one down to it's less, and then now it's opening it up for, okay, we left adequate funds to do forward. I get what you're saying, Jonathan, but at the same note, I just feel what they're asking from us today is relief on frontage due to the moratorium of water. Is that what was written on the decision?
So I guess the question for the applicant, Greg, would be if the applicant was able to work with what you just suggested.
Well, so can we do it? Can we give it to him like that? Because the town bylaw says without water, you need 250. Now,
Yeah.
Does that mean without water, meaning like we don't have a water line going by your house? It's not the applicant's fault, but we have to make this somehow cleared up between the water department, building department. So let's just say I wanted to take a piece of my property and I wanted to go out. I don't want to have to take it and change it to 250 feet of frontage when I already had it done at 175. I'd be
Yep.
aggravated, me personally. So I'm just stating that if we do the 250 and the other one less, the other one, it'd be easier for the applicant or someone else that would buy the property to come in front of the board and request an easement off the 250 to get out back, because he still would meet the 175 with the frontage that he would need to exit to the back of the property. So that's where I think by giving the 250 and the 17 or 110 or whatever it is, we're opening it up for more of a problem. But I don't think legally we have the right, unless it goes in front of the annual town meeting, to change what our bylaws are.
No, we
Right now,
don't.
it says 250, it's 250. So right now, and again, I feel the applicant has a hardship, and I got what we're saying, Jonathan, you and I are understanding, like he could, again, I'm not trying to tell the man he couldn't do whatever he wants with his land. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I understand what you're saying. What's to stop him from doing something out in the back on a future date? Well, let's just face it. We're all going to be dead in 50 years. So if somebody else buys this property, if there's not a condition on it, it will be developed. So, I mean, the applicant's not willing to put a condition on it like that, and I understand, but he's being forced to do what he's in front of us now due to the water moratorium. So I feel that's where the hardship is, and that's all. Going forward, that's all what we're being asked is for relief of frontage.
Right.
And that's
I think
all
if-
that's really all
Yeah.
we're supposed to talk about. So
Yeah. And Greg,
I
I agree.
understand. I do get it.
I do agree with you, and I think it's an unfair hardship that potentially is imposed not only on this gentleman, but on a lot of other potential future folks that would come in
course.
front of us in the town. It's going to be a major
Yeah.
hardship, and we know this is going to get worse before it gets better. So
I
don't,
do. Yeah.
And I don't want to put the applicant in a difficult position either, but I also don't want to put us in a difficult position if we approve something that we're not able to approve because it sets a precedent that right now we don't have the authority to do, because that's my other concern. Do we have the authority based on the water issue itself to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down or not?
Well, though it's going to be a hard. That's a tough question.
I know. And
Right
that's,
now, I get it, John. I do understand what you're saying. If you're asking me, if you're asking me, the hardship is the water moratorium. It's due to the reason of making the 250. He shouldn't have to be doing the 250 regardless, but he's doing it. So, I mean, that's where I was hoping Jim was going to be here or Marguerite today so we could discuss this, because this needs to go to, if we're not going to have water for a year or two, enough to do this, this is going to come in front of us multiple times. People had, this gentleman here, I believe he had a permit. It was already done with the water department. They already had our approval. Then we went to the water department. If I'm not mistaken, he said that they got to legal counsel. Legal counsel said that they'd rather not. So that's why that happened. But I really think what they're asking for is relief of frontage to make a Form A house lot without water, and giving him another non-conforming lot frontage-wise with adequate acreage. That's what was in the Gazette, and that's what we're supposed to be hearing.
Correct.
So whether there's water or not, so he does meet the requirements. He's only asking for the relief of the other one, and I feel due to the hardship of the water moratorium, I'm for it.
All right, I would like to, at this point, open up the floor to any members of the public that have any questions or comments. And just make sure that you please state your name and address for the record before speaking. And if anyone has anything, Carrie will go ahead and unmute you if she sees anybody. I did see some of the names listed there. I don't know if I see a couple of names, Aaron, Eric, Holly, Andrew. I don't know if there's members or have anything for later on public input, but if anyone has any comments, I'll keep it open for a few more seconds. Not keep it open, but I'll keep the offer for a few more seconds. If we don't hear from anybody, we'll move on. Carrie, do you see anyone trying to raise their hands or anything? Or I don't want to cut her off before.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to see. Let's see.
And I assume, and also while I have you, I assume nothing in writing or anything.
I do have one in writing.
Okay. If you want to if you don't mind reading that first to give people a
Sure.
chance to,
Sure.
yep.
So I have one in writing, her name. Let's see. Hi, Carrie. Per our conversation, could you please read the following exception from Robert and Christine
Meeting is being
Merriam?
recorded.
I don't know what that was.
Either.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Now it's working. Yeah.
Oh, is that you, Greg? Sorry.
Right.
Okay. All right. So please read the following exception from Robert and Christine Merriam, 2690 Cortland Road, Dayton, Mass. 02715. We are concerned about the possibility of abutting land, building a house with insufficient frontage and building too close to our property. Dayton has specific rules in place regarding frontage, and therefore the rules should apply to any building in town. Thank you, Robert Merriam and Christine Merriam. And that is the only written notation I have.
Okay. Before we move on, if the applicant wishes to address that, they can. They obviously do not have to, but if they have any comments to that, they can go ahead.
Well, all I can say is that, like we said before, we're not asking for any relief to setbacks. So if there were 3 lots up against Cortland, which was the case with the subdivision, then there would be a potential to have 3 houses built within 15 feet of the properties on Cortland, because that's the rear setback requirement in Dayton. In the case of putting 1 house on 5 acres of land, I would strongly doubt that somebody would decide to put their house within 15 feet of the backyards of the houses on Cortland Court.
Right. And so that's just one thing. I know the people who submitted that question I don't believe that they're here this evening. But if they are listening to this at some point, what he's essentially saying is that they're not asking to build closer than we currently allow to their property line. So that being a concern isn't a concern really. And I mean, I understand why you're concerned, but like you would not have to worry about them building closer than what they're legally allowed to, because that's not what they're asking to do. That being said, if they wanted to build it at 16 feet away, they certainly could, because that's within the town bylaw, and that's kind of, that's no different than your neighbor deciding to put a shed there. You can't tell somebody where they can't put their house on a buildable lot if it's within the town bylaws. So in terms of worrying about it being too close to your property, it's not going to be any closer than what is currently allowed by town bylaw. Is there Carrie, do you have any people from today that want to speak? Or
Well, I sent a message out to everyone asking if there's anyone who wishes to speak. I'm not getting a response.
Okay. All right, so I think we gave ample opportunity for people to state any questions or anything. So before we go ahead and make any motions, whether it's to vote or to table, that being said, I'm going to be looking for a motion to close the public hearing aspect of this case. So when that happens, obviously, there's no more information allowed to come in, and no one is allowed to speak from the public regarding this case. So before I do that, does the applicant have any final questions, or, well, they can always ask questions, but any comments they want to make about their case?
Nope. All set.
You are, okay. That being said, is there a motion, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing portion of this case?
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan, I make a motion, we close public input on this case.
Is there a second?
Susan Pritchard, I second.
And actually, I'm sorry, it would have to be David,
voting
a voting member. Sorry, Susan. Yep.
Aye, David Phillips, second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, Zachary Karen.
Aye, Greg Logan.
Aye, David Phillips.
Alrighty, so now the public input portion is now closed, so we can no longer take any information in regarding this case. So that being said, the board is now free to deliberate. Is there anything any board members have any comments, or is there a motion to approve or deny? Or not approve? Is there a motion to approve or?
Mr. Chairman, this is Greg Logan. I make a motion to approve due to the hardship of the water moratorium on this development.
And is there a second?
Aye, David Phillips, second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye, Greg Logan.
Aye, David Phillips.
Aye, Zachary Karen. All right. Mr. Kirby, you are.
Zach, can I say something? I think each member has to state the reason of hardship. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the reasons for our voting, you mean?
Yeah, when each member mentioned the reason why they were going to approve it.
Oh, yeah.
The reason for I said mine was due to the water moratorium of hardship.
Yep. Okay. So that's honestly 100% what I was going to say too. Is that this was not a self-created hardship. It wasn't anything that was deliberate done by the applicant. And he obviously has no control over the water right now. So that's why I think there's a hardship enough to approve this case.
Okay. And as Dave, what do you got for a hardship? Same thing, bud?
I believe it's the same thing. The hardship because of the water is the main thing that made me sway that way.
Yep. So Dave, like I said to you earlier, thank you for reminding me of that. So when we do vote after the votes go through, we do have to state it. So when Marguerite writes her decision, she's going to write what each person's reasoning was for approving or not approving the case. So that's why we went and we had to ask everybody that.
So we made the decision to give that the approval for the water moratorium, and there's going to be no conditions on the property at this time, correct?
That's correct. And even if there were, it would be too late because we voted it in. So we wouldn't be.
No, and just making sure we're all on the same page on this.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. All right. So you are all set, Mr. Garvey. Any questions regarding what you need to do next, or are you all set?
Nope. All set. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is public input. Do we have any public input? Obviously, if there is anybody, this would be not regarding the case we discussed. It would just be any kind of general public input, any questions or anything at all. Carrie, do you have any non-case related public input that you've gotten through?
Nope.
I heard a lot of beeps, people signing off, so I'm assuming they were probably here just to hear about that case.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm not sure when I can bring this up, but I really think with this water moratorium thing, we need to get with the proper channels to get that put onto the annual town meeting for the 250 relief. If water does run by your street, you still have to put the well, But I think we should have that relief for the applicants. I mean, it's not their fault that the town of Dayton does not have adequate water pressure.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't really know in terms of, I mean, we're a few months away. I don't think anything's been cut off, Carrie, has it? Like, is it still possible to?
Unfortunately, no, the warrant, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but the warrant, articles.
That was
have-
cut off on the 13th.
Yeah,
Always a day late and ball short.
Do you know,
Yeah.
Carrie, by any chance, if it happens to be there? Or is there any discussion of it?
I'm sorry, what was that question again?
It's just from your own experience, have you heard of this being discussed at all?
I have not.
Yeah.
No, I think unfortunately, the timing with this application and the annual town, it's a bummer, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like, I
Yeah,
doubt it's something that the powers that be are unaware of. So
right.
I'm not saying, oh yeah, therefore it's going to be discussed. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just
No.
saying
I think,
hopefully that means, the bugs in the ear, but I don't know.
yeah. I know I know it was bounced around a little bit in the very beginning. But nothing came up out of, nothing came of it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, no.
Zach,
I
maybe,
did-
I was
I-
just going to suggest, I'm sorry, maybe that we could work on it, Zach, and we could all try to put some language together and maybe talk to Marguerite about some language so that we can get it onto the special meeting that'll probably be in November.
Mhm.
I believe the planning board has to write all the stuff that has to be changed in the bylaws, though. It's not the zoning. We could still give them some input of our concerns.
Right. I did, when I was doing some spring cleaning in the office, I did come across a legal opinion from quite a few years ago about, from David Gay's office, and it looks like there was a water moratorium that was put in place years ago. And it had something to do with frontage, and I had put it aside
Yeah.
for a reference, but I haven't had a chance to really look into it in depth.
That kind of sounds familiar. I don't know why it does.
Yeah,
but
so
I
let
remember that.
let me go back through those files, and what I'll do is I'll scan it and I can email it out to you guys on what that was.
Sure.
If I recall correctly, of course, this was before my vacation, probably several months before that too.
Yep.
Coming across it, I believe it was a formal legal opinion as well.
I think
So, and it may give you the answers of what we're really looking at, or maybe not. And again, like I said, it was many years ago, but so I guess we would have to see if it would still apply. But I'll be happy to dig that out and go from there. And then in the meantime, I guess I can do some, if you want me to, I can, I
if you,
see where we go from there.
I'm sure you're pretty busy. If you want to wait until you send out, I wouldn't want to see you doing unnecessary legwork and then it turns out the answers were right in that thing the whole time.
Right,
So-
that's what I'm
so-
thinking, is grabbing that first
Yeah, do
and then
that
go from
first.
there.
And if we feel like there's any further work that needs to be done on it, I can let you know. But
Okay,
I just don't want to see you doing more work than you need to.
right. So what I'll do is I'll dig in the office tomorrow and look for that, and then send that out to you guys.
All right, so board members, before we do have do we have any correspondence, Carrie?
No, we do not.
Okay, and approval of meeting minutes from February 23rd, 2022. Are there any discussion to have on those, guys?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. Greg Logan.
All right, is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman,
This-
Greg Logan, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 23rd, 2022.
Is there a second?
Jonathan Gale, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Jonathan,
Greg Logan.
Aye, Zachary Karen.
a
Uh,
couple more.
Hi, David Phillips.
There we go.
You-
All right. Is Elise still there by any chance? I see she's not in her
Her
frame.
camera's there. There she is.
There she is. Wow. What are your thoughts so far?
Oh, I'm very interested in it because it's exciting for me to see how the town works. Like when I drive down the road, I see farms, but now I can see how the farms are people that are building lots and communities. It's for me, it's a real estate and when you put in houses or developments or things like that, and then there's water variances or different things that can come apart. And I like how that you have town laws, but then you can look and see if it's a needed thing, and then you can maybe bend it, but then you have to think about setting precedents. And
Right.
I really like how you guys have really given so much thought to his situation and to the town laws. I think that's great.
That's one thing that I learned from my dad was that we're here. We have two jobs essentially, is to maintain the integrity of the town, but we're also here for the townspeople. We should not look at a case and say, okay, why are we going to say no to this? Ideally, we should be trying to help them. And kind of, I'm sure one thing you kind of were supposed to say is that we kind of discussed a little bit. Think of it as like the planning board writes the laws, and the zoning board is the one that is going to interpret it and kind of say, if we feel like what they want is a variance from that. So as you kind of heard, about, but the planning board has to write this, the planning board did this. We make our decisions based on the laws that they write that are then voted on at town meetings. But I'm glad that was your opinion and not like, oh my God, what the hell did I get myself into? Can I say no? I'm glad that was I'm very glad that was your response.
Yes, it's interesting. It's so interesting.
There's a lot more to it than even what we talked about today. There's just when you think that, I think we went over everything, there's always something else. There's a lot of digging that needs to be done. So. All right.
Sounds fun.
It is a lot of fun. Do any board members have any questions or anything or any comments before we close the meeting tonight?
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank your father. I think we should write it. We're going to draft a letter, correct?
Yeah.
For all his years of service, because I had the best two mentors. I had Joe Pacheco and Peter Karen.
Yeah.
For a long time on the board, and I've done a couple 40Bs, and let me tell you what, they're no fun. But I'm hoping that none of you guys get any of those in front of you, because it's a lot of legal talk, just letting them go back and forth, and it's crazy. But your dad has taught me tremendously on the board, and I'm going to sorely miss him.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm not going to miss him because I see him all the time. But I know it's pretty funny. Once we were out after the meeting, after the election, and we were at dinner, and I said, "Oh yeah, I have to ask the selectmen to post an ad for a new member." So, Dad, if you can get on that for me, that'd be great. His hand was just like hot after just being sworn in, and I was already asking something from him. So,
right. Well, I'm proud. I'm happy. That I hope he does well, and I know he will.
I have no doubt in my mind he will do well. I know he's what the townspeople, what the town needs, and regardless of your political leanings one way or another, there is no doubt that I have no doubt that he's not going to work extremely hard and be exceptionally fair and honest with everybody. So I think that's the most important part that we definitely got with him.
Yeah, both of the candidates were both hardworking folks.
Yes.
So I'm very happy that one of them, at least I knew both of them, and Peter, unfortunately, we lose him. The town benefits and we lose. So, but we'll have to go forward. We got a bunch of new members here, so maybe we can go forward and see how it goes,
Yeah.
And Zach, I have to echo what Greg said. I mean, a lot of what I've learned over the past 3.5 years or so that I've been, almost 4 years now, have been from two people more than anything, your dad and Greg, because, they're the long haulers, both of them. And I know you probably feel the same way. We both gained a lot of experience and knowledge from just listening to their conversation back and forth. And it's always been, not always what the resident wants, sometimes what the town wants, but we've certainly gained a lot of understanding of how things are expected to work, the rules, the regulations, the laws, the procedures. And I credit your dad, even when we disagreed, we agreed to disagree. There was never any, bantering back and forth, either on the phone, in person, or behind the scenes. I'd never experienced any of that, which I think is awesome. As it's a testament to who we are as residents and also to the ZBA.
It's an awesome, and it's rare. It's very rare that the lack of heated discussions amongst this board is essentially non-existent. And that's pretty awesome. So,
well,
Yeah.
Pass on my thanks as well. And he taught me a lot, so you can pass that on to him. I'm sure I'll see him pretty soon anyway, and I'll pass that on myself too. So
I will. All right. That being said, is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, this is Jonathan Gale. I will make a motion to we adjourn at whatever time you tell me it is.
8:27.
Thank you very much.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, Greg Logan, I'll second that.
And
Sorry, Dave. It's Zoom. I can't wait for this to go away. Trust me, next month it'll be back to normal.
Got it.
Hopefully.
it will. All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Jonathan, I.
Greg, aye.
Zachary Karen, aye.
Dave Phillips, aye.
Susan Pritchard, aye.
All righty. That's it. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.